Now, for years, innocent civilians have been paying the price for US war on terror. This time in Kabul, it is no different. Failures in US intel have led to the killing of an aid worker and members of his family, including children. WION was the first channel to tell you that these were not the ISIS-K targets that US claimed they were. And now WION correspondent Anas Malik has returned to meet the family whose calls for justice are being ignored by both the United States and the Taliban. Take a look.
48 hours before the August 31st deadline, the US conducted a drone strike in Kabul's Khwaja Bugra area. It was in retaliation to the ISIS-K attack on the airport, with America claiming it had averted a terror threat. Visuals of the damaged vehicle were put out. The Pentagon claimed that they had hit an ISIS-K target. There were talks about preventing another attack, and that a second blast was indicative of the presence of explosives. WION's Anas Malik reached the drone strike site the next morning, 14 hours after the rockets struck the area. What he saw were harrowing visuals. The place still smelt as if something had just been melted.
I spoke to the brother of the person. The family says that they demand justice. They have outrightly denied any links with the IS, contrary to how it has been reported or claimed, and they say that these were innocent civilians. This is what the family has maintained. There were children among them, 10 civilian casualties, as what the locals have been telling us, and they've also maintained that there was no secondary explosion. There was only one explosion that took place because of the rocket that had hit the car.
We even spoke to Emal Ahmadi, the victim's brother. Emal had lost his own daughter in the strike and was grief-stricken by the entire incident. But even then, he told us that the strike was a wrong one and that his brother, Zamarai, was a trained electrical engineer.
Yesterday, unfortunately, I lost my big brother and with three sons, and also I lost one of my small daughters, and one of my brothers lost her 3 child, and also I lost one of my nephew in here. Yeah.
Minutes later, a neighbor at the site told us the same thing. He said that the victim was an engineer and had nothing to do with any terror organizations.
This was my best friend's house. He was an engineer and had nothing to do with army or anything. He had nothing to do with Talibs or anyone else either. He was an engineer. 10 people have been killed, including 7 children. There is a lot of fear because of the strike. I came here after 5 minutes. People were lying in a terrible condition. I did my best to take them out.
We even took a look at the vehicle that was targeted in the strike. From human remains to parts of the vehicle, everything was still pretty clearly visible. The victim, Samaraya Ahmadi, was among 10 civilians, including children, whom the US killed that day through a Reaper drone strike in the middle of Kabul. One of those killed was from the Afghan army. Nazir Haidari had fought alongside the same US forces that targeted him, and he was waiting for his special immigrant visa. So, what exactly happened on that ill-fated day? As Samurai Ahmadi pulled into the driveway at around 4:30 p.m., his children swarmed around his Toyota Corolla. His 12-year-old son, Farzad, asked if he could park the car. Ahmadi obliged, making Farzad sit in the driver's seat and switching to the passenger side. This was moments before the drone struck the car. In an instant, 10 people were killed. Among those killed was a 25-year-old nephew who was about to be married, and 5 kids who were 5 years old or younger. In the driveway, what remains of the Corolla on Monday was blackened metal, melted plastic, and scraps. Ahmadi's brother, Emal, has now left the house.
Outside the house, which was targeted by US drone on the
We visited the house again to find the door locked. The neighbors there told us that the family had left. But the damaged vehicle still remains inside.
Since the airplane had targeted, the family has left. The house is not in a condition to be lived and there is no such family left behind. It's been 2 weeks since they have left.
We later caught up with Emal. He now lives with his sister here in the capital. He even took us to the Kazaba graveyard, where all the victims of the strike are now buried. Emal is a regular visitor at the grave, waiting patiently for justice here. He says nobody has contacted him, neither the United States nor the Taliban. He says he has no idea about the investigation, and all he wants is justice.
Yesterday I heard that investigation is sure that we are an innocent person. Yeah, I heard for the New York Times.
But nobody from Taliban or US has said...
No one's come for investigation.
Right. Yeah. Did the Taliban speak to you over this, or did they come or they say anything?
Just only the first day that happening, the three Taliban come, just only say they hear you and go back.
They did not get contact?
No, they are not contact, they are not investigate, they are not doing anything with us.
US President Joe Biden had promised to hunt terrorists down. He promised to make them pay, but it looks like with the failure of US intelligence, Afghans here are paying the price of Biden's promises.
This is the grave of Zamarai, who was an engineer working with an international firm. Zamarai was targeted by a US drone strike on the 29th of August. In Kabul's Kasaba graveyard, 9 more of his family members are buried alongside him. Those of his family members who are left demand justice from the United States. They also say that they have not heard both from the Taliban and from the United States on the matter of the probe and investigations of this wrongly done drone strike. Anas Malik in Kabul, Afghanistan for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.